And I'm joined now by polling expert and Conservative life peer, Lord Robert Hayward. Thank you for joining us on the show, Lord Hayward. So let's start with those polls, shall we? A personal approval poll of Sunak puts him on minus 49 points, his lowest ever polling, on a par with Boris Johnson in his final days. And at the moment, as we approach Christmas, let's face it, the only person that's less popular is the GRINCH.
There's no question that he's facing dire poll ratings. Measurements are a real problem for him and for the Tory party at large. They don't seem to be moving at the moment, and the Labour Party have a notional large lead.
And Lord Hayward, one thing that's stubborn about this, it doesn't seem that Sunak can get a bounce. There was a brief respite when he kind of went back on the petrol car ban, a bit rowing back on net zero. But other than that, it's been a downward trajectory. And we've just heard a poll come out putting the Tories down on 2 points and Reform nibbling at the Tory vote with a +2 swing. I guess my question to you is, can this be turned around, or with an eye on history, you think we're looking at a kind of 1997 style wipeout?
No, I think it looks difficult. There's no question about that. And all governments that have been in power for roughly a decade and a half, and you not just look at this government, but the Blair-Brown governments and then the Thatcher-Major governments, they hit difficulties somewhere around 15 years, either side of 15 years, because people begin to think that they want to change. But there is one marked difference. Two observations. One is actually, if you look at the trend lines on the polls, the Tories have marginally, and I emphasise only marginally, tipped up, despite that one poll that you're citing there. But what is also striking is that the Labour position is lower now than it has been since August last year, 2022. What people are showing is not just a disaffection with the Conservative Party, but appear to be showing a disaffection with all politicians. And the by-elections recently, very low turnouts. I fear that when it comes to the general election, and I agree with Chris Hope, it'll probably be in October, November next year, I fear that the turnout on a national basis will be low because of this level of disaffection of the general public with all politicians, not just with Rishi Sunak.
I certainly agree, Lord Hayward. A lot of people are saying the none of the above party will be very popular, but a low turnout doesn't help anybody. I guess the question is, can that disenfranchisement with the Conservatives be tipped into a movement for the Reform Party? Can they gain seats? Or do you think historically, with first past the post, that's just too big a question to ask?
It's a very big challenge for the minor parties. The Liberal Democrats always complain on the same basis. In general, the first past the post system does favour the two biggest parties. What we have seen in other occasions is a marked shift in the last few months, last year, running up to an election. And it may be, given that people have the attitude they do to politicians in general, it might change. One has to remember that the biggest single issue, and it came from the Clinton era, although it wasn't Clinton's expression, is the economy stupid. The top issue in all opinion polls that have been taken in this country over the last few years has been the economy stroke inflation. And therefore, ultimately, although there are other issues, the NHS, immigration, climate change are the three that follow on. They follow on a long way behind people's assessment of the economy and the handling of the economy. So Rishi really has to, first of all, prove his competence on the economy, and then people will start looking at some of the other issues.
And Lord Hayward, with your experienced eye cast over this then, would you say that's looking like we're going to be going to a later poll? Because presumably Rishi Sunak would like the economy to settle down. Interest rates we saw today are holding firm. Inflation is on a downward trajectory. So the best hope the Conservatives have, as well as trying to get Rwanda sorted out, is the economy to stabilise and to say to the electorate, you can trust us on the economy.
Oh, there's no question that I've been convinced since February this year that the election would be in October, November next year, because inflation has been sticky, it's come down a long way, but it's the general message will have to be that we are handling the economy, and if you can't solve that, there is a very large proportion of the electorate who will decide they'll go elsewhere. It is a real problem that has to be tackled. The other issue that comes up on the doorstep persistently is the chaos of 2020 to 2022, and Rishi will want to put that as far behind him as possible, which is the other very strong argument for an election in October, November, when there is the possibility that interest rates will have started to fall.